We're waiting for Tara.
Okay, who do we have dialed in? I think the last three digits is 7. Oh, there's Tara coming in. Okay,
There's Tara. We are all here.
all right. We're all here and support staff is ready to go. We'll go ahead and do a call to order and roll call.
John Grisher.
Here.
Susan Murphy.
Here.
Bill Pardue.
Here.
Sarah Twomey.
Here.
All present. Thank you.
All right, great. So any announcements from the trustees? Or actually, let me stop. Public appearances. Have any public appearances? Okay. We'll go to announcements from the trustees.
No, just book sale is 7th, 8th, and 9th. And we can, thank you, John. We can use all the help we can get to close up. And thank you for Hudson too. I understand he's going to help us close up. And that's it. I've got, we made $235 at the market last week. Expect to do really well this week. And that's about it.
All right, hey, great, thanks. Any other announcements from the trustees?
Oh, I don't have any. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Announcements from the library director.
So summer reading is underway. We've had 2 programs. The Tam Tam drums were here our first week, and that was pretty lively there in the park with some of the farmers market just finishing up. Last week we had rock painting with the Carmel Art Association. Not all the kids took their rocks home, so they ended up in our new side garden at the park branch. So if you're passing by and you want to see rainbow rocks with magical creatures on them, stop by and take a look. This week we're going to have the Puppet Art Theater, and then we'll be planting in the library the week after that. Thursday, July 7th, it'll be Zoo to You. So that's going to be a pretty fun day in the park. That's going to be on Farmers Market Day, so it's going to be pretty hopping. And then our big end of year party, Palouse and Coventry variety show with the Wheelie Mobile and our book giveaway. So, so far our programs have been pretty well attended, especially after a 2-year hiatus. Parents are really getting back into the swing of things, and it's fun to feel normal again, like we're doing something we should be doing. So, and then the City Council adopted its budget June the 7th. Our staffing levels have been approved at what I requested at last November, so that's solidified. And then our master plan project has carried over, and I have the statements of qualification that we received for architects here in my office to review to see if anybody will qualify, or we think somebody would be a good fit to start working on that master plan project. And I'll be reaching out to this board and to Alex for final decisions on those. But I'll be digging in and doing a preliminary review, hopefully by the end of this week. And that's where we are.
Okay, thanks. We'll go on to the orders of business. Receive a report from the Carmel Library Foundation on recent activities.
Good morning, everyone. So Carmel Public Library Foundation held its final board meeting for this fiscal year last Monday, and we reviewed our year. Our hybrid programming attracted a really large audience, and we're going to continue on with that for next year as well. And we are also going to look at options to host our annual event like that as well, to live stream too, because in-person events are still a little bit, tenuous. Our annual event, as you know, was the highest grossing event, and we closed at around 150,000, and we are on the search for next year's speaker. Ashley and I are continuing to research marketing firms for branding and communications initiative for the library and the foundation, which we're going to work on together. We held our Sterling Circle reception a couple of Sundays ago. It was really well attended. And we had a really nice cross-section of members, board directors, and potential CPLF participants. So it was really lovely. And as Ashley said, it was nice to get normal again and be in person at an event and see people. CPLF board retreat is scheduled for September 8th. And then we're also going to host a librarian appreciation event, which we've done previously, but due to COVID, we weren't able to do it. So we're going to schedule that for the last week of September. And I'm working out the details for that, but you'll of course be invited to that with the librarians, and it's a wonderful way to show our appreciation. A grant writer for CPLF has been hired and will begin July 1st. And we have some proposals to review for our connectivity project with a landscape architect consultant. So we're still at the beginning of that project. It will take a while. A lot of contractors right now are swamped, and proposals and things of that nature are slow to come. So, but we're on it, and we're working together on that too. And then just lastly, this summer, our board has a hiatus, but the staff will be working on programs and our annual event for 22-23. And that's all I have. And it was a great year. And thank you so much to all of you.
Well, thank you, Alex, for all of your hard work and the foundation's hard work over the past year as we emerge from the pandemic and try to get some of these projects online, including the strategic plan and things like that. Okay, on to the approval of the minutes from the May 25th, 2022 regular meeting.
I will note, it appears that those didn't get attached. I know I approved them and read them, but for some reason they did not attach themselves to the packet. So you'll see those next month. So this is one that we can carry over. I apologize.
Okay. Makes it an easy day. All right. On to receive the librarian's report for April and May 2022.
So included in your packet are the April and May statistics for 2022. I was very gratified. I was waiting to see what our May stats would look like. That was the first month that we opened Monday, Wednesday, Friday in both buildings. And I feel like we saw a gratifying uptick in circulation. Of course, being a little bit of a statistics nerd, I wanted to see how we compared to 2019 at the same time. For our circulation in 2019 for adults, it was just over 6,600. So we're not too far off for being open, not as many hours. I mean, we were here in the 4,000, just over 4,000 range for May 2022. The stats for kids circulation hasn't rebounded quite the same way adult circulation has. But as always, we see an uptick during the summertime. But not only that, I think it's slightly more of a challenge and has been with our hours for families to rebuild us into their normal flow and schedule. And so we're starting to see that increase more and more, where we have fewer lulls in that department, usually around lunchtime, but it's starting to be pretty packed in the morning and in the afternoons as well. So I think we'll see an increase in June in those statistics. When combined with our electronic checkout, so our circulation total in May of 2019 was close to 9,500. Our electronic checkouts were just 1,400. So if you combine our physical checkouts in May of 2022 with our electronic checkouts, which continue to be high, we're not too far off with our circ stats, which I find gratifying. Also, another thing that I think we're seeing is there was concern with the electronic resources that people wouldn't come to the library again. But that's not the case. And I think people are understanding that Hoopla and Overdrive are additional things that they can use to take a walk and listen to a book, or for traveling, that those things are a matter of convenience. They might not be preference, but they're just another way for people to continue learning, to continue enjoying what the library has to offer. And I'm hoping that that continues on. And so that is my big takeaway from our statistics, is we're we're on the uptick. We'll continue, I think, as we increase our hours. We just added 2 things in. So we're Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday. I'm hoping to add more staff at the start of a new fiscal year. I have a recruitment in place, and then we'll just, I think, continue to see our stats get back closer to what they were in 2019 and hopefully exceed them in terms of library usage.
Okay, any questions on the librarian's report for April and May?
I have a quick question for Ashley. And Ashley, I don't know if you have this information. Do you know how the kids library fared on like Saturdays before the pandemic? Like, was it a more popular place during the week, or was it, because you've got these different groups. You've got people who have little kids who probably are around all the time. Like they could come in on a Wednesday morning or a Friday morning or whatever. But, working families, kids where you have kids in school, you see an uptick in the summer, but during the year, my guess is that's either after school or weekends. Yeah? Question mark?
That's an interesting question. So I had been talking with one of our previous librarians about that and what our Saturday hours should look like when we came out of the pandemic, and potentially Sunday hours. And what we found during the year, so not summer reading, but during the year, was that it's quiet here in this department unless there's a program, unless it's something that families are going to, like this is a STEM program that we're having, and it's factored into a schedule alongside soccer practice or a game or something like that. And so I've been discussing this with our new children's librarian in terms of moving forward for those weekend hours, for any programs that we might bring back for after school. We used to do a lot of food-based things for the middle schoolers that they were very happy with. So we have talked about that very thing. So for anecdotally, what we've seen is unless we've got something scheduled, it can be quiet in here during the school year.
And then, and so then the usage is really after school.
After school, yeah, it can get really busy, and in those mornings when we have story times as well.
Right.
Yep. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks.
Okay. Any other questions on the librarian's report for April and May? Okay.
I'm really surprised at the uptick in the people, a lot more showing up. I was in front of the library on Thursday for a little bit, waiting for something to open up. And there was at least 6 to 8 people come up to the library. The half hour I sat there and looked up the door and walked away and left. So I think even higher yet when you open more days.
I think we will see that for certain.
Okay, the one question I have is on the page 2 of the May 31st report, looking at the circulation by borrowers. I think you need to go back through that. I think the first, it doesn't match the information on the first page. In essence, the residents.
I see what you're saying. Mm-hmm.
Year to date went up 11,000 in 1 month.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
And then the 64 total patron visit count was 0 the previous month, and it's 64,541 this month. I know we're doing well, but if we're going to use the statistics going forward, I think there's just an error on this page. Everything else looks good. And well done on getting the library back up and running and the patrons coming back through.
Thank you for that, Phil. And I will look at those numbers.
Okay. So we're now on to item number 4, receive the treasurer's report and approve the check register for May 2022.
Okay, on the treasurer's report, as you can see, we're doing quite very well. Everything looks great. I really don't see anything that's really anything sticking out on me here. Our interest, we thought we were going to get an interest and things like that aren't up to what we thought, but we can readjust it this year and maybe invest differently to get maybe a little bit more return on our money. Other than that, I'm open to any questions, because when I look at, as I look it over and I've studied it, we're just right on. I'm very happy with where we're going right now. We're doing really good. And maybe some things we're still like 34,000 something I got to the good.
Okay. All right. Any questions on the treasurer's report?
I have kind of a long-term question. This isn't necessarily a question for John, but just, I can see we still have the Evans money there.
Mhm.
I think we at one point had a small ad hoc committee that was going to try to figure out what to do with it, and then the pandemic hit. And the Bradney money is also restricted, is my recollection. And what is it restricted to?
For the Evans Trust, it's restricted to the purchase of books
Materials.
and artwork for the reading room at the main library.
And the Bradney,
Off the top of my head, I don't remember Bradney.
I can't
But
remember
Evans,
either.
that's what Evans is. Evans is the reading room. That was the challenging one.
Yeah, so
That's I would include that as part of one of our strategic plan goals. The staff and I just took a day to review it last week, and we were heavy on making improvements to our financial policies. And I think this would come under that heading in terms of taking a look at our report out on these restricted funds, reminding all of us what they are. I think I've done that in the past. And I think it's worth bringing that back. And John mentioned options, potential options for other ways to invest funds other than LAIF. I'm sure those are out there. The Board of Trustees in the 1980s didn't use LAIF. That was something that came later. And the Board of Trustees operated a little more like the Carmel Public Library Foundation in terms of investment with the funds that were there for the reserves before the existence of the foundation. I'm not sure if that's a direction that this board wants to go, but I think it's a discussion worth having.
And do we have a sense of what we should, kind of what is prudent from an accounting standpoint in terms of what we should be carrying for reserves? I know that we have our operating reserve and the equipment replacement. Those are things that I think we voted on at some point long ago.
Yes.
To carry those. But beyond that, is there some sense of, obviously we're carrying 10 times the operating reserve, which is okay. It puts us in a pretty sound financial position. I'm just curious kind of what maybe at a later date when we have that conversation, what is the best practice in terms of our reserves? And we can say that for a later date, but those would be some of the questions that I would have when we get to that point.
Very good. Okay.
I think there's a way out there that some of our reserves can be invested very safely. I've talked to several financial people in town. They've given me a couple ideas that the money would be completely secured and we could get a little bit more return than what we're doing now. But as you said, Tara, it's down the road. We could talk about that later.
Okay, I will keep this on my list of future agenda items to come back with an overall overview of our financial report. I do have a plan to have the auditor come next month in July at the end for our 2020, 2021, I think it is, audit. So that'll be happening. But I'll include this in our future agenda items. Thank you, Tara.
Yeah.
Just to add one question to the topic is, when was the last time we actually took anything out of our reserves?
It's been a number of years from that we've actually used reserves. I think the last time we pulled from reserves, it was a request it was to support the microfilming of the pine cone. And that would have been pre-pandemic. That was an additional project over and above. And we had been quoted for so many years at it being a $100,000 project or more. And Katie was able to find somebody that did it for, I think, less than $15,000 overall. And so that was the request from the board, was to have the pine cone digitized.
Okay. No, just a sense of how often we use it toward
It's been used.
How much we should have.
Yeah, for when I've been here, it's been used for things that didn't come up during the budgeting process that the staff feel are of importance enough to ask for reserves. I think in my tenure here, I asked for reserves for a new microfilm machine, which is over and above something that could be accommodated in the operating budget, and supplies, emergency response supplies for us to have on hand. Okay. So, and that was out of a larger training that we had done, in terms of keeping our collection safe and being prepared to salvage materials if we needed to.
Okay, thanks. All right, from the board members, any other comments or questions on this topic? or things you would like to see when this is brought back in the future? Okay, we'll go on to item number 5, receive and approve the recommended fiscal 2022-2023 budget.
Phil, I think we need to, do we need to have a motion?
Check
Yeah,
register.
we do. You're right.
Yeah, sorry. So I would move that we approve the treasury report and check register for May 2022.
I second it.
Okay, if we could have a vote on the approval of the check register for May 2022.
John Krischer,
Yes.
Susan Murphy,
Yes.
Bill Pardue,
Yes.
Sarah Twomey.
Yes.
Approved. Thank you.
Okay, now on to number 5. Receive and approve the recommended fiscal year 2022-2023 budget.
All right. So the budget before you for proposed for fiscal year 2022-2023 isn't drastically different than budgets I've brought to you in previous years. As every year, I do recalibrations in almost every line item and ordering, and John can tell you we both went through every single line of this budget in detail and talked about, you know, line numbers are shifting or not shifting in some cases. We've talked for the last 2 years about if and when we get staff. It's finally happening, which means that we can have programs. We will be spending more money. We will be undertaking new initiatives. And so the programming budget has reflected that. You'll see more spending coming out of programs in support of summer reading and some other initiatives we're doing in the kids department in June. So it's already happening that we're moving forward and starting to pick up some momentum on programming. With the addition of new full-time staff and the expansion of our hours, we'll see increases in circulation and we'll have more people available to order, you know, additional books. We'll probably do more of our curated collection type of thing that we were able to do before the pandemic when we had more bandwidth. In addition to our regular type of administration, IT needs, program, and then of course, hard cost materials. I did ask for additional funds from the Carmel Public Library Foundation. Alex mentioned one of those projects earlier, which is rebranding and marketing that we're going to be working on together, which I'm excited about. And then also the radio frequency identification project, RFID. This will enable us to be more efficient with checking in, checking out materials, doing inventories, regular inventories of the shelves. And also will include the purchase of new self-check machines, which are in particular at the main library, very popular for people who are quick in and out people. So I'm looking forward to both of those projects, which were included in our strategic plan, and moving them forward in this new fiscal year. And I'm happy to answer any questions you all may have.
Okay, I open it up to the board.
So this budget, obviously it tracks very closely to the previous year's budget. There's not a lot of difference. I'm glad to see that we've boosted to cover the audit's actual cost.
Yes.
So my one question, and I should probably know this, but you know, our local history program is actually the largest of the programs. What does that cover?
That covers the cost of, and I had changed this up last year, and part of it was a tracking for me in terms of keeping local history stuff grouped together. Poor Leslie, I keep wanting to like rearrange and redo the taxonomy for like, well, this technically, so I'm trying not to do that. If you look at it compared to previous fiscal years, pre-pandemic, I wasn't including our storage unit there. I'm keeping it all together under local history for our tracking purposes. So that's one of the reasons for the uptick. And we're also putting a little more money towards the oral history program. Katie has some ideas about combining the way we've done our interviews before, which is kind of a longer format, 2 to 4 interviews per year, with more in-depth research with something that is more blended with something like StoryCorps, where people can come in, and Shades of Monterey did a great job with this when they first launched it, which is you can come in, do an interview. While we're interviewing you, we're scanning some family photos if you are amenable to that. And so we're looking at a new model for that, and new equipment and things. So
so our storage costs for local history are in that number as well.
Yes, they are. Yeah.
Okay, got it.
All together.
Okay. Thank you. That's all I have, Phil.
Okay. Susan, do you have any questions?
No, I don't.
All
We
right.
need a motion.
As long as John doesn't have any questions, since he helped.
No,
I assume he does.
I'm fine. And on Tara's comment about, I can put down, I have the figures for the storage cost every month. If you'd like to have them added when I give the treasury report, I could do that for you, because that's.
No, it's
my
okay. It was just because that number was 10 times as large as the teen program and twice as large as the adult program. And I just wasn't exactly sure what, again, that it covered. And it makes sense that it covers storage, because I'm assuming it's a couple $100 a month at least for the storage.
It's quite significant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm good.
Okay. So if we could have a recommendation and a second to approve the budget.
I recommend that we approve the budget for 22-23.
Okay.
I'll second it.
All right. We could have a vote on the recommendation to on the approval of the fiscal budget for 2022-2023.
John Krischer,
Yes.
Susan Murphy,
Yes.
Bill Pardue,
Yes.
Tara Twomey.
Yes.
Approved. Thank you.
Okay. So now we're down to item number 6, the somewhat annual election of the 2022, at which I am term limited after something on the order of 30 months as president, with 4 in-person meetings, the rest of the pandemic. And so what I'm going to do is just propose a slate of officers, and we can discuss and go from there. So I propose that for president, we have Tara, for VP Susan, and for treasurer John. Open for discussion.
So I'll say that I'm happy to accept that nomination. But Phil, you've done a great job of kind of guiding us through online meetings for the last couple years, and I hope you're not going to go very far just because you're not on that list. I know that we are hopefully going to get our 5th person at some point. Fingers crossed. But Phil, this is a different. Doing this via video, as you know, is kind of a different beast, and I think you've done an amazing job of making sure that everybody participates and has an opportunity to speak on these, because it's just different. So I gladly accept that nomination, but I also thank you for the guidance that we've had over the last 3 years.
Thank you. Okay, if there are no other comments, I will need a second on the slate.
I have one comment. I'll accept the things of treasury, but I have yet to meet you. I met everybody else, but I never got to talk to you in person, which is really wild.
But I think the only reason I got to talk to John in person was because I ran into him while we were walking the other day, John.
Right. That's what we've never met before that either. So it's quite unique with this situation.
I guess so. Phil, more officially, I guess what I would do is I would say I would move to accept the slate that you've proposed as an official motion.
Okay, I would move to accept the slate, the proposed slate.
Yes.
I second it.
Okay, we have a vote on the election of the officers for 2022.
John Krischer,
Yes.
Susan Murphy,
Yes.
Bill Pardue,
Yes.
Tara Twomey.
Yes.
Approved, and congratulations.
All right. So are there any future agenda items that we have not discussed already?
No, I was going to tell Tara that I go to the foundation meetings anyway, so if you can't make it, don't worry about it.
Okay.
I'll be your representative if you want.
Ashley, when do we have strategic planning on the
We can have it
calendar?
whenever we like. I think I mentioned earlier, the staff and I sat down last week to do some training on Thursday, and we went through the strategic plan, what our goals are, and just to get our brains back in the swing of things and moving along again. So I'm happy to bring something to the board in July. It's still a pretty relevant plan. We still have things in progress. There, of course, it feels like we only really missed a year of planning, but I can bring it to the board next month since it's in my brain and on my head.
And then what did we do? What happened with the city? We had asked the city to roll over the funds, and I'm assuming that got done?
It got done.
Okay.
And then also, Tara, we've been meeting, right, with CPLF and the Board of Trustees, just a few of us. The
Yes.
Monday
So
before, right.
Yeah, we'll loop you in on that, Tara.
Okay. So I would say just for future, more generally for future agenda items, at some point, I think we need to at least get an update on where we are with the strategic planning going forward.
Happy to bring that back.
Okay. Any other future agenda items? Okay, now for my last act this time around, we're adjourned, and Tara, good luck starting in July.
Thanks, Phil. We'll see you
Thank
then.
you, Phil, for everything. You're really great.
We'll see you then. All right.
I appreciate all y'all's
Bye,
help
everybody.
for the whole time. Thank you. All right.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Phil.
Bye, everyone.
Just so